that you and the Prime Minister of India discussed to take this relationship forward, that it reaches its true potential, sir?
Well, I think the several things, if I may say. I would say the meeting, the fact of the meeting. Let me say a few things. First, just in terms of Prime Minister Modi's attendance at the G7. Prime Minister Modi has attended every G7 since 2018. That is a reflection of the size of the Indian economy, the dynamism of the Indian economy, Indian technology, the leadership position India plays in a host of venues from G20 and beyond. So as chair of the G7, hosting the Prime Minister in that context is entirely natural, entirely consistent. I fully expect the Prime Minister of India will be in attendance at the G7 next year, for example, in France. First thing. Secondly, in terms of the bilateral relationship, which is your question, I think the meeting today was important, but I would describe it as foundational, as a necessary first step, an exchange of views, frank, open exchange of views around law enforcement, transnational repression as two examples, an agreement to provide the necessary foundations to begin to rebuild a relationship based on mutual respect, sovereignty, trust. And that begins with what was agreed. You asked for concrete, which is that we will move to appoint high commissioners again. And let me just finish by putting that in context, which is there are very deep ties of people and businesses between Canada and India. It's well known. It's part of your point about where the relationship could go. And they are not served at present by consular services, in effect, certainly by high commissioners. And it's necessary to have that level of service as a basis on which to build out, again, in the context of respect for sovereignty and to begin to realize the potential of the relationship. And we will, we're both committed to work towards that, but there's a lot of work that will need to be done. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to close. I'm going to make one final comment, if I may. Just this is an ad lib to the question you didn't ask. What was it like in the room? I'll just say this, having been at a number of summits, G7, G20 summits, just to give a bit of a flavor. The advantage of particularly the G7 is that there are only, oddly, 9 people in the room. Because of the two extra not extra Europeans, the right amount of Europeans, but there's 2 other Europeans. And there's 9 people in the room, and they're the principals, they're the leaders, and there is a great amount of direct dialogue and discussion, very frank exchanges, very strategic exchanges, differences of opinion on a number of issues, but from an effort to find common solutions to some of these problems. And that is particularly valuable, in my opinion, and I'm a new leader in this context. I have been around these things, but a new leader in this context, where we had several other new leaders, G7 leaders, because you're building those relationships, you're building those trusts. It will be very valuable, for example, next week when the core of the G7, which was the core of NATO, is together making major decisions on defense and security partnerships. And so the fact that at a time when multilateralism is under great strain, and I'm absolutely clear it is, that we got together, we agreed on a number of areas, the 6 related statements, we agreed on the perspectives on Iran, despite the impressive minutiae questions, if I may, on the detail of words around Ukraine, agreed on that aspect of maximum pressure in variable ways using financial sanctions. That's important, and that's valuable, and so I want to just give you a bit of that flavor. And last thing, I want to pay tribute to our Sherpa, Cindy, for leading this great effort under challenging circumstances in terms of global events and just the nature of bringing it all together. And so now it's probably about 6:30. So I'm hoping when I walk off the stage, the oil is up by 1. At least no. Okay, just keep me in the zone for a minute. Down by 1. Wow. Okay. Well, Okay, well, it's a long game. It's a long game. It's a long. We're going to go to OT. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for indulging my little